Good morning and welcome to the Daily News Trends on SSiTV Africa. Will the ANC advise Zuma to respect the court? The governing party has held a special NEC meeting and will provide feedback on Tuesday. The South African Communist Party SACP says the ANC can't save its former president from jail and that the ANC must respect the court and its limitation as a political party. While one analyst says a bid for re-election as ANC president will likely see Cyril Ramaphosa stay out of this fight. The ANC special NEC meeting will specifically discuss the situation at Nkandla and what the party should do about it. The Apex Court sentenced Zuma to 15 months in prison for failing to appear before the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. ANC Chief Whip encourages eligible citizens to get vaccinated. African National Congress Chief Whip Phemi Majordina has encouraged South Africans between the ages of 50 and 59 to register for COVID-19 vaccinations. She has further called on the youth to help the elderly with the registration process. Majordina says she is feeling optimistic after receiving her first Pfizer vaccine dose in Cape Town on Monday. Government has announced the rollout of vaccines for persons aged between 50 and 59. Former Limpopo prosecutor set to appear on corruption charges. A former prosecutor arrested for alleged corruption and defeating the ends of justice will appear in Sibasa Regional Court outside Thohoyandou in Limpopo on Tuesday. Ratsi Lumela Makado is accused of soliciting a 6,000 rand bribe in exchange for discharging a case of negligent driving for a suspect. Makado's trial has been set to start in the regional court before it can be transferred to the Specialized Commercial Crimes Court in Giyani. The Sibasa Regional Court had to issue a warrant of arrest for Makado following his failure to appear in court last month. He was arrested by the Hawks in an undercover operation in Thohoyandou last June. Makado has resigned as a prosecutor at Thohoyandou Magistrate Court after his arrest. Meanwhile, another former prosecutor in Limpopo, Herbert Sirumula, was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment after he was convicted on a charge of corruption. Gunmen abduct 140 school students in northwest Nigeria. Gunmen kidnapped 140 students from a boarding school in northwestern Nigeria on Monday. A school official and police said the latest in a wave of mass abductions targeting school children. Heavily armed gangs have long plagued northwest and central Nigeria by looting, stealing cattle, and abducting for ransom. But since the start of the year, they have increasingly targeted schools and colleges. Gunmen opened fire and overpowered security guards after storming the Bethel Baptist High School in Kaduna State in the early hours of Monday, police said, before abducting most of the 165 resident pupils. Around 1,000 students and pupils have been abducted in Nigeria since December. Most have been released after negotiations with local officials, although some are still being held. Germany relaxes restrictions for travelers from UK and other countries. Germany's public health institution said on Monday the United Kingdom, India, Portugal, and Russia were no longer areas of variant concern, reducing travel restrictions for people arriving from those countries. All 4 countries have been downgraded to high-incidence areas, the Robert Koch Institute said, meaning their citizens can now travel to Germany and quarantine on arrival for 10 days. The quarantine period can be shortened to 5 days if they test negative for COVID-19. Australian F1 Grand Prix and MotoGP to be called off. The Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix and MotoGP are set to be cancelled on Tuesday for a second straight year because of the coronavirus pandemic, AFP understands. Organizers plan to stage the race in October and November, but it hit roadblocks over Australia's requirement for overseas arrival to undergo 14 days of mandatory quarantine. An official announced by Australian Grand Prix Corporation Chief Andrew Westacott is expected later Tuesday. AFP has learned. Cancellation could mean 2 years without a race at Melbourne's Albert Park after the 2020 version was dramatically called off just before the opening practice session. Thank you for tuning in on the Daily News Trends.